back to the FNZ 90 Plus Free podcast, where free football supporters take a look into the dressing room, chatting to former professional footballers about their experiences on and off the pitch. I'm your host, Ashley Simons. If you're joining us again, or maybe even for the first time, make sure you hit that subscribe button and tell a mate and get them through the door. Tonight, I'm once again joined by Armchair Andy and Top Hat Tux. I called you Top Hat, mate, because I just don't know what to say anymore, really. But lads, I just want to talk to you quickly about, Dele Adebola, hashtag find Adebola, hashtag Del Boy Adebola. Pat Baldwin last week seems to think that Dele Adebola is a second-hand car salesman. Would you agree with that?
I think Dele could put his mind to anything he wants to, and if he is a second-hand car dealer, then I will believe that. I don't know what Andy thinks.
Oh, what can I say that can top that? I think search goes on, and we'll see if we can find someone who knows him.
Well, yeah, you're right. The search does go on, but what are we going to do? How are we going to find him? We've got to find players that played with him. But let's go on to tonight. Tonight we're joined by a former defender who made 257 Premier League appearances, tasted success at Wembley and crossed the Atlantic Ocean to become an MLS All Star. It's Liam Ridgewell. Liam, welcome to the show. How are you doing tonight, mate?
Very well. I was very confused by that start and I was wondering what was coming next, but I'm all good, thanks. Very well.
We'll get on to that at the end, mate. All right, we'll get on to that.
I thought I was going to be sent out to go find someone then.
Liam, as a brand new guest on the 90 Plus Free show, you won't be familiar with the format, so let me just set the scene for you. Just imagine you're in a pub with three complete randomers and you just got to share all your best football stories. Is that okay?
Sounds like the best night ever, I'm not going to lie to you. That is absolutely tremendous.
All right, for a change tonight, Andy's going to kick us off with the questions. Go for it, mate.
Yeah, thanks, Ash. And Liam, welcome. And thank you again for coming on the podcast. Hopefully everyone listening at home enjoys. And yeah, we'll crack on and get into it. An area which I'd like to start on is where your love of football came from. Was this from your childhood? I mean, myself, growing up, football mad, still am. Is it the same for you?
Yeah, obviously nice to meet you. Thanks for having us on. Yeah, obviously I was football mad. Obviously the old man encouraged me. I got two older brothers that obviously played, not anything high standard, but we played in the back garden and in the hallway and any chance we got. But my old man always encouraged me to have football at my feet, whether that was a level one smashing everything in sight in the house until my mum told us to get a plastic floaty one to change that, or being out in the garden or being out with my mates. So, like for a lot of us, I think just the love of the game just started and takes hold. And obviously, I was lucky enough to fulfil my dream and go on to play in the Premier League. Yeah,
so you grew up in Bexleyheath, mm-hmm. and started your youth career off at West Ham from 1990 to 2001. Who did you support growing up? Were you a West Ham fan or?
Wow, that makes me sound old. Christ, I didn't even realise it was that far back. That's unbelievable. No, growing up, I was a Queen's Park Rangers fan, which I still am now. But obviously, it's like, a lot of footballers, you support a team and sort of you either get to play against them or you got to play against them in a big match or things like that. But obviously, followed them. Celez Ferdinand, one of my heroes from QPR days, and the late great Ray Wilkins and Rupert Brevett. Nigel Carsey coming on the scene and scoring wonder goals. Trevor Sinclair had the kit from Trevor Sinclair. So loved them growing up. My old man used to work round the corner from them at that point, and used to walk round the corner and go and watch some of the matches at Loftus Road. He was a Crystal Palace fan, so was my middle brother. So didn't take too kindly to me being a QPR fan, and obviously attending the West Ham Academy. A lot of people probably didn't really like I was a QPR fan, but that's what it's like around London. You choose your team and you can't get away from it, and that was it from there really.
Yeah, exactly. And at West Ham, was there any kind of notable players you came through with, or you could just tell even that age that they were just cut above the rest and they were going to go to the very top really?
Yeah, obviously I mean, Kieran Richardson was there at the time. He was, I think, a year or a couple of years below myself. Anton, the same. which don't, obviously two great players that come through and and play to a very high level. But the likes of that was above me. That's what sort of led me to move from there. But the likes of the youth system, bringing through Richard Garcia and Joe Cole and Rio Ferdinand, and as list as long as your arm, and that was what I was watching, week in, week out, or attending during training and stuff like that. So it was a hell of an upbringing, and I was at obviously an unbelievable club and learning some really good traits.
Yeah. So from West Ham, you quickly moved on to Aston Villa, which is quite a move, really, considering grew up in and around London, your family from London, and being at West Ham. That must have been quite difficult and quite a change in culture and geographically.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a southern boy coming up to the Midlands, with Scottish managers that, one, didn't like the Southerners and thought we were Southern softies, and two, thinking, hang on a second, who's this Billy Big Bollocks? I'm not sure if you can put that on the podcast in the pub, but I would do. So it was something you had to prove and prove yourself. I grew up, playing at West Ham, playing on a Saturday and Sunday with my county team and Sunday team, and then, like a lot of us do, hanging around on the streets. Monday through Sunday, hanging around the streets, hanging with my mates who were smoking weed, doing bongs, smoking cigarettes and doing all this. And there's me, pick of the bunch, holding a football in his arm, waiting for him to play football. So anyone that came round, these hard nuts sort of thing, it was like, who's that kid over there with a football? Like, how the heck is he here? What the heck? And I was just driven, and it didn't really dawn on me what they were doing. It didn't. I just thought, that's what kids do. And I was just waiting for him to have a kick around, and at some point we'd have a kick around. But getting to 14, at that point I was looking in the distance to see where I was going and where I was heading. And the path at West Ham was tough. I backed myself a lot and had a lot of confidence. But being a central midfielder at the time, you had Richard Garcia, Frank Lampard, Joe Cole, Michael Carrick, likes these. And I thought it might be a little bit tougher here. And then the opportunity come from Aston Villa, similar setup, academy, brilliant, brought a lot of young players through, but just didn't have as many coming through at that time. Obviously, you had Lee Endry and J. Lloyd Samuel, late great J. Lloyd Samuel, Gareth Barry, and it just appealed to me, to move away and be away from the lads. I knew that what that was going to be. I was going to grow up, and I was going to be put in more difficult situations. I thought, right, time to make a break, go up, become a man very quickly at 15. I was travelling on my own from London up to Birmingham, and I chose that path, and obviously glad I did.
Yeah, I mean, it could have gone one or two ways by the sounds of it, and you obviously chose the right path in football.
Obviously, a lot of people, I don't know. There's not many people that weren't in the same situation. Playing on the streets, and their mates were smoking, drinking, doing weed, whatever whatever it was, and they found themselves sort of leaning that way. I didn't have that. I talk about that with young kids nowadays. It's drive, it's focus. Would you rather do that, or would you rather go and have a chance to play football? Yeah, it's a slim chance, fair enough, but you're giving yourself the best opportunity by not doing that and being focused. And if you are that one, you may have that chance. So I took the opportunity and thought, you know what, that ain't for me. I'll be around them. I love being there, and they're great lads. But just that path that they were going down wasn't for me, and I chose another one.
Yeah, and a path which you've found some great success in.
Yeah.
And at Aston Villa, you were part of the FA Youth Cup final winning squad against Everton back when we had a two-legged final. And you played against the likes of Wayne Rooney in that final. I think he was 16 at the time.
Yeah, I think he might have been even younger, but yeah, I'll get you right. He was a man, but he was a kid.
yeah. I mean, what was the FA Youth Cup like back then, and how was that experience?
Incredible. I think obviously growing up, the two main things growing up in the youth system was, one, the Milk Cup, and two, the FA Youth Cup. Now, when I was thinking about leaving West Ham. You know, the youth development officer there and the reserve team coach and everything, they invited me and my old man down to watch a youth cup game for West Ham. Now, obviously, I'd been to the games and watched them, but they invited me into a changing room, you know, as clubs do, and it was amazing. You know, it opened my eyes. I thought, wow, I'd love to play in this one day. Got to do that at Aston Villa, and we had such a good team. We weren't a team that was sort of standout players. We had, you know, great players like Stephen Moore and Luke Moore both up front, and Stephen Davis, obviously nowadays, and things like that. But we didn't have anyone stand out and anyone going, yeah, do you know this fella? You know, not like Wayne Rooney. So we were sort of a team that came together, and we found out about Wayne Rooney when he scored that goal from the halfway line against Spurs. I think it was in the 4th round or whatever. And we were watching clips from then, and you know, coming up against him, he was like he's now at 15. So a real great experience and an unbelievable thing to win, and you know, I had that winning mentality, and I wanted to. So it was a great thing to do.
Yeah, it sounds like you still look back on that with fond memories, and as you said, at West Ham, that kind of got the FA Youth Cup into your head, and you managed to go on and win it at Aston Villa.
Yeah, I think, you know, it was just one thing that, you know, when you're growing up, something sticks out in your mind. You know, it might be a London FA Cup final, you know, South London Cup final, or the Bexley Cup final, and them sort of them stages you went through, and it was something that I wanted to be a part of and do. I did it a year before with Villa, but we lost against Arsenal, against, you know, the Rowan Ricketts, the Stephen Sidwells, and cool. I mean, you know, Jermaine Pennants, and it gave me that flavour, and obviously then got my own age, and the chance to win it was obviously epic.
Yeah, and moving through your Villa career, you had a brief spell at Bournemouth, playing 5 games in 2002.
Yeah.
But returning from Bournemouth, you made your first team debut in January 2003 in the FA Cup, 4-1 defeat against Blackburn Rovers. But then quite a wait until December to make your first Prem appearance. That must have been difficult, because I mean you've had an experience, a bit of a taste of first team football, and you know, you're young, you're raring to go, and then to have to wait till December, you know, it must have been hard.
Oh, it was so frustrating. You know, at that age, like any of us, I was ready. You know, I was knocking on the door saying, I'm playing, I want to play. You know, I'm ready to go. You know, I'm 18, I'm coming back off loan. I'm 19, coming back off loan from Bournemouth. I'd tasted that bit of football. And that's what drove me through. That's what made me leave Villa. You know, that they're the things that I had that taste, and right, I was like, ready. I'm ready to go. Clearly I wasn't, but at that age, you're ready to go. You know, that debut, we played against Dwight York, and I remember being on the sideline thinking, if you get on, smash him in front of the whole end, and they will love you for it. Just get him. Any way, just take a yellow card, whatever, just smash him, and they will absolutely love for you. Remember him going down the line, the ball had gone down, and thought, buzzing, trademark. As he turns, bang, you're him, ball, corner flag, line out, everything. He's going. But me being that young, stupid, he just moved the ball to the side and made me look like a mug, and I thought, oh. So, no, obviously great fond memories and ones that I cherish. But like you say, it was very frustrating. You know, I was ready to go. I thought I was going to make more appearances, especially coming back off loan from Bournemouth. You know, I could have stayed there and played a few more games, but the way they did it, I love now, because obviously I was in around the first team, and you learn from these senior pros and how to act and how to do things right. And it's lost a little bit nowadays, I think, on young footballers. But it was a great way to come up.
Yeah, I mean, were you cleaning people's boots at that point still?
Yeah, I was cleaning boots. I was training with and playing with Mustafa Hadji, Bosco Balaban. You know, I was cleaning their boots. They weren't even in the squad sometimes, and I was sitting on the bench. But you know, I was still cleaning their boots, and you still were doing that. And that's the one thing I despise. I can't believe that still don't happen. You know, it's shocking. And I see it. It's not bullying. It's a chance to meet that first team pro. That might be your only chance ever to meet that player, ever to have interaction with him. You know, you end up in the pub 10 years later, and there's your story. I cleaned Mustafa Hadji's boots. I know he gave me 200 quid tip, or I was useless at it, or I spit shined him, or I did this, or I did that. I don't get that nowadays. You know, that's lost. So yeah, incredible, and obviously great to look back on. And Bosco Balaban gave me a 500 quid tip for Christmas one time, and
Wow.
absolutely buzzing my tits off. Thought, oh, what a Christmas. But then
Yeah.
one of the boys, Scholesy, my mate, grasped me up to the reserve team manager, and we had to put it all in the pot. I was like, oh, you've killed me. So, yeah, fond memories.
Yeah, and moving through your Aston Villa career, you scored seven in 79 appearances. Which actually, for a defender, that's not too bad.
Yeah, I grew up like scoring goals. Just love scoring goals and doing that. You know, I was like a lot of us, centre forward, back to midfield. Once they know you ain't got the pace no more, back to centre half when you got even less pace. You know, you need to use your head a little bit more. And just found myself in the right time, right place. And I saw it as a selling point to me to Aston Villa to keep me in the team. And moving forward, if you're a goal scoring centre half or goal scoring defender, adds a little bit onto your clout. So that's something I tried to keep on really, and a little disappointed I didn't get any more, but oh well.
But I mean, that's nearly one in every 10.
Yeah,
and actually, it's not bad at all. The first which came heading in Solano's cross in a 3-0 win over Norwich. They say you always remember your first. What's your memories of that goal?
I certainly do. They tried to take it off me because it flicked off Dean Ashton's bloody massive bonce, and as I flicked it on, he's basically hit his head and gone in. Now, obviously, I'm going to claim it and say it's definitely going in, but it was going miles wide, and they gave it to me. But it went to the dubious. I don't know if it's still going now. The dubious goals.
Yeah, it is.
Panel.
Yeah, I think it is.
And so I was doing interviews saying, "Yeah, I'm buzzing," and what a goal, and first goal, and then obviously I think it was Monday or a couple of months later, like, yeah, they're reviewing it. I'm like, come on now, at least tell me after the game so I don't do any, telling people and doing all that. But thankfully, it was given to me, and yeah, like you say, always remember you first.
Yeah, and just going through a couple other things, you played in a few derbies at your time, but one which quite a few people know is when you got sent off with a headbutt.
Yeah.
Talk us against John Greening.
The Eskimo kiss that was deemed a headbutt at the time, but it was the biggest kiss I think between me and Jono ever. I mean nowadays, I've been probably five years after you never got sent off. Now you'd probably get a 10 match ban for something like that. But I think it was something to nothing, and it was obviously me rolled up as a young kid in a derby, thinking, "Come on, let's just smash someone and have a row and square up to people." And obviously Jono being a sort of senior pro, thinking, "Who's this little twat trying to fucking square up to me?" So it was brilliant. Obviously, it was a massive learning curve, and one I got told off for. But like you say, again, you always remember you first. Yeah,
but I mean, as fans, and it's I know personally I love to see in derbies, big tackles, everything getting a bit feisty. But are there any other memories that really stand out for you at Villa in terms of might be personal performances or big tackles?
Yeah, I think to be honest, one that I put up on my Instagram where I sort of not kicking Van Persie in the head, but jumping him and sort of getting him in sort of the neck way, and Mark Delaney sort of looking. Obviously I tried to, I always thought myself a good jumper and a good header of the ball, and that sort of stood out to me. The other one that stood out to me, probably, I had a performance against Jermaine Defoe while he was at Spurs. Obviously, he was flying high, and he ended up like sort of squaring up to me, like sort of saying, "Who, you little cocky twat, who do you think you are?" So one that stands out to me really. So yeah, some great moments, but obviously, went very sour very, very quickly towards the end.
Liam, after your spell at Villa, you became the first player in 23 years to cross the second city divide when Birmingham paid $2 million for your services. Talk us through how that move came about.
Yeah, so they tried to actually get me in the summer. Rewind a little bit. I was playing, I think I'd played probably close to 70 games, or sort of had a lot of starts and played over maybe like 90 games or whatever. And they brought Martin Larsson in the summer, which he'd come from AC Milan, I think, after a World Cup, good World Cup. But me being me, just wasn't happy and wasn't wasn't happy with it and weren't going to accept it. He came in with some knee injuries and didn't play. Then I was playing. Then he took me out, which I get now, but he took me out and put him in. He got injured. I went back in, played 10 more games, took me out. And you know what? I was fed up with it. I was like, look, he's injured. Not that he's not good enough, but he's not up to it. You know, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to play. And I kept telling Martin that and made my feelings clear every time I had the chance. And it just went a bit sour. Birmingham coming in the summer for me. He told me that he didn't want me to leave. He wanted me to stay because he wanted me to play. No problem. Fair enough. I'll take that on the chin. I'll stay because I was enjoying it. Didn't really play or played a little bit up until the Christmas when knocked on the door again, said, look, this ain't good enough for me. I'm not just willing here to sit here. You know, I'm looking to play Premier League football. Look to sort of get out. Again, had bids from clubs, Birmingham as well, and he sat me down on sort of the last day of the transfer window and said, you know, I don't want you to go anywhere. I want you to stay here. I want you to play and be part of the team. Reluctantly was like, okay, no problem. You know, I love it here and I like to be here. And then didn't make the squad for the rest of the season. But certainly didn't play as much as I wanted to and didn't make the squad. And that was it for me, really. I was happy to stay because he was telling me to. But sort of I was sold down the river, I felt. And time Birmingham come back round again, I was like, look, I'm done. That's it. And I think I left in that summer. I think I left into the summer window. So it was a hard pill to swallow because obviously I came through Villa, loved the club, and it was a great place to be. But it didn't really matter where I went. The Birmingham Villa divide, it didn't make a difference to me. I wanted to go somewhere where someone wanted me and the club wanted me, and Brucey made that felt.
Yeah. So when you went, you obviously walked through the door. Am I right in thinking that they quickly gave you the chance to be captain? Not only that, at the ripe old age of 22, what was it like to take on such a responsibility?
Do you know what? It was incredible. We went down. Jonty was injured. He'd had a few problems with injuries, so we went down to Chelsea. I think it was the first game of the season, and we was outside, and Spinksy pulled me and said, "Oh, you're captain today." And I looked at him sort of like, "I'm captain. What do you mean? What are you talking about?" You know, I always, like to be a leader and talker and everything like that, but I never thought that they would, bring me in and then make me captain straight away, which was a great honour and loved and absolutely cherished being captain. I always wanted to be, and it was a bit daunting. But when I thought, oh, wicked, let's go with this. And I think they maybe had a lot of methods behind the madness in sort of making the rest of the Blues fans that didn't accept them maybe accept me a little bit more, and it endeared me to the fans, and a special relationship that I did have with them.
Yeah. Obviously, you experienced relegation with Birmingham after your first season there. However, you bounced back immediately. You suffered an injury setback that year with a broken leg. However, you came back and featured in a side that went 12 matches unbeaten in the Premier League, a club record. Talk us through that period. Yeah,
obviously breaking my leg in the Championship, obviously being captain and being relegated, I felt it upon myself. I think all of us did, but that's why sort of the core of the team stayed together, voted upon ourselves to get us back up. And obviously breaking my leg was a tough pill to swallow because we was playing well, I was doing well, and we were looking to get promoted. So whenever you're sort of injured and you get promoted or you win a cup and things like that, you don't really speak to a lot of people. It's tough to feel like you're really the person that did it. You can really celebrate. I've celebrated, but it's still a tough one to take. So, I was determined to get back from that as quickly as I did. 5 months, which was great. And then we obviously got into the Premier League. We'd signed Scott Dan and Roger Johnson, obviously 2 commanding centre halves, and I was sort of trying to find my way, and then found myself at left back, and sort of just enjoyed it. I thought, if I'm playing left back, I'm playing left wing, I'm playing centre forward. Someone's filling in for me if I'm going forward, and loved it. And like you say, the 12 match unbeaten run, that was just a team of lads. Like you say, team of lads down the pub, just getting together and just grafting their nuts off just to win every single game and not drop a point. And it was a really good time.
Yeah, so obviously following that, you'd argue that the highlight of your career came in the Carling Cup, a Carling Cup final where Birmingham beat Arsenal 2-1. Obafemi Martin scoring a final minute winner. You played the full night in that one. Tell us what it was like to win a trophy, not only on the day, but on one of the biggest stages in football.
Incredible. My old man always, kissed me goodnight and said, dream about scoring a winning goal in a cup final. I didn't get to do that, but just winning at Wembley, winning a cup final, I always dreamt and thought I would. But, with the calibre of clubs that I played at, it's a tough ask. But like I said, that team was just gritty lads, just absolute, pub lads, just working together, enjoying football and just enjoying to win. And it did come a tough ask, obviously, at the end of the season where we got relegated. But we drove so hard to get to that Carling Cup final and then win it. It was just an unbelievable feeling. And against Arsenal, I had a lot of friends, brother, all Arsenal fans.
They had a lot of money on Arsenal win that day.
Yeah, they thought they'd strolled it, absolutely strolled it. That's why they turned up in their tracksuits. And a great, unbelievable memory and just a great day, and one that will always live with me.
So obviously coming to the end of your time at Birmingham, you handed in a transfer request after the club were relegated for a second time, which saw a move materialise with West Bromwich Albion. Before Tux gets onto that, I want to know, which club would you hold at high regard? Villa.
God, it's such a tough one. It's so hard in so many ways. Because Villa brought me through, I've got so many ties with that club, because if they didn't bring me through, I'd never have been able to do what I've done. But winning that cup with Birmingham, it probably tips it just over the top. But I'd be forever thankful to Villa giving me that chance. So it's a tough one and a hard one. But winning the Carling Cup obviously probably tips it over the top, I'd say.
So after representing Villa and Birmingham, you opted to stay in the West Midlands. With a move back into the Premier League with obviously West Brom. So you also had interest from clubs such as Newcastle. So what made West Brom the destination of choice at that time in your career?
Well, the interest from Newcastle was really legit. I nearly found myself going there. It was at very last. I mean, obviously we got relegated and everybody basically left. For one reason or another, and I was sort of one of the last ones there. Obviously, me being me, I wanted to carry on playing for Premier League football and wanted that chance. The Newcastle thing come very late in the window. One that I was jumping at the chance, to be honest, to go and play up at Newcastle. What a great stadium, what some great fans, and was wanting to do that, but just didn't materialise. It was too late in the window, and obviously stayed at Birmingham. But for one reason or another, the move materialised to West Brom. They tried to get me in the summer, moved there in the January, and I was forever thankful, because a 2.5 year period that I loved with a set of lads that were absolutely quality. So, really thankful for it.
Yeah, so you had a good couple of years at the Hawthorns, but you were then released by the club in 2014. You subsequently joined Portland Timbers shortly afterwards. But before we come on to your time there, take me through what you were thinking at the time of your release from West Brom, and where do you think your career was heading at that point?
Yeah, at that point, you know what? I was in a bit of a crossroads. I've been at Birmingham, or been in Birmingham. I'd sort of had enough of being up there. I wanted to come back to London. I'd made my feelings clear a little bit, and just wanted to be closer to my family back home. And you know what? It was just something that I just didn't really want to be around the place anymore and be up there. So I was sort of commuting from London quite a bit, and found myself, more and more time in London and wanting to go back there. And it was tough. That last season at West Brom, I won't lie to you, it was tough. It was horrible. Pep Mel came in, he changed a lot. It didn't work. We had a team that was playing week in, week out. They were putting in performances of like 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10, which was keeping us in the Premier League. And he suddenly came in and tried to change a lot in that team, which really the majority of the core of the team didn't really feel we needed changing. And it showed, a lot. They changed a lot, and look what happened. So, I was sort of ready to go myself. I come back off holiday, and my agent said, "Yeah, they're not going to renew it." I I wasn't massively disappointed in that. You know, I was looking to come back to London. Yeah, of course, I would love to have stayed there a little bit longer, but it was time for me to change, do something different. Honestly, I didn't really, the love for the game that we spoke about earlier as a youngster, it was fading. It was something missing. And I thought it was not being at home, not being in London with most of my family. But subsequently, it was something within the football club, within myself, that I needed to change, and I got that opportunity with Portland.
Yeah. So you said there that obviously there was a point you wanted to move back to London, but you actually went on to move to America. So
couldn't have got any further away, could I? It's unbelievable.
Yeah. So I mean, in terms of, you know, whether it be London or the West Midlands, you know, it's not often that you get to swap the doom and gloom of that for a spot of log sawing in Portland in the USA. So what made you want to take the leap of faith to continue your career over in the, you know, obviously Major League Soccer, MLS as it's known, with clubs such as Portland Timbers?
Do you know what? Like I said, I thought it was something missing in my own personal life of being back in London and being close to my friends and things like that. But do you know what? It was something missing in me, that sort of fight and that drive that I had earlier on in my career, that had gone. You know, I'd lost that a little bit. And Portland, I was in Vegas at the time on my 30th. This is probably the only main reason that I even went to Portland. It was an hour and a half away. They told me they'd fly me up there. Now, from England, that's a 14-hour, 15-hour trip. I probably would have gone, you know what, being an idiot footballer, I've probably gone, Joe, I'm not travelling that far and blah, blah, blah. But I'm so grateful I did. And it changed my life. It changed my life, my family's life, opened my eyes up again to that being part of the organisation. I'd sat down with the GM, the owner and the manager. Now, unless you're Wayne Rooney, David Beckham or one of the big stars, never in a million years do you get to sit down with a GM or an owner and talk to them. This is what we should be doing. We should be doing this. We should be doing that. So I felt like a superstar. It was unbelievable. And once I saw where I could live and the lifestyle I could provide my family, it was a no-brainer. And one I said to the gaffer, you bastards. He took me to a lake and we had a beer on the lake and talked about the team. I thought, you fucking got me already. So it's one that I loved and jumped at the chance.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a million miles away from, you know, what you've been used to. So, I mean, you joined the club as a designated player. For listeners that are unaware of that role, can you just talk us through how you became a DP and, you know, what it all involves?
Yeah, DP, you get 3 DPs in each team, and a DP player can be paid anything above the cap. Now, I think the cap is at, you know, I think 650 or 600, and the rest of the team need to be below that money. Now, obviously, that creates problems, or it can do if you get the wrong person being on DP wages. And I didn't, you know, they said, "Oh, you're going to deal with that." I said, "You know what? It makes no difference to me. You know, I'll still do what I need to do, and hopefully the boys will respect that and bring that in." You know, I'd known players go in there as DPs and sort of flashing it and being this Billy Big Bollocks and sort of being that way. It doesn't work because these lads are under the cap. They're looking at you in the change room. If you ain't pulling your weight, they're like, hang on a second, who's this fella just doing this? So I took it upon myself to make sure that I didn't do that. And the biggest one for me was obviously making the club even bigger. So they brought a few more things in now. There's a TAM where it's under $1 million. A few other ones that they brought in for big clubs that they can get the big stars in.
Yeah, so you also had the during your time there, you also had memorable moments, especially in the playoffs, winning the MLS Cup, being named in the MLS All Star team for 2014 against, I think it was against Bayern Munich. Am I right?
Yeah, correct. That's right.
So it must have been a personal highlight for you with that. So, I mean, sort of take me through those special moments that you enjoyed at Timbers.
Yeah, quality. I think I'd obviously only just got there. The MLS Cup was the All Star team. It was being played at our home. One of the defenders had gone down, and the manager had called me in. I was actually in my kids' room putting up some curtains with my old man when I got the call. Nearly fell off the ladder, type of thing, and it was a strange turn of events. But obviously, got to play against stars that would never have got to play with really ever. You know, whether they took a step down or things like that. You know, you're only going to play against them either you played for England or Champions League that way. So incredible experience. I got to be in the All Star team in 2017, but I was injured, so didn't get to go that one. So it was a shame. But yeah, wicked. Obviously, like a lot of us, we see it on TV, Netflix, whatever. You see these All Star things and think, what the heck is this? But it's enjoyable. It's something different. It's refreshing, and that's what I went there for.
So while it's also different, as you say, I mean, how different is it from, either playing in the Championship, the Premier League, lower leagues of England, to then going over to the MLS? I mean, they talk about it's, different kind of passion over there and whatever else. But from a personal point of view as a player, what did you experience from that?
Loved it. I mean, I was very, very lucky to be part of a team that had the best fans in the league. We were sold out 24,500 every single week. Now, for anybody that knows or doesn't know, that's 24,500 Portland Timber fans, because the away fans can't travel. They've got probably 200 fans there. And our fans don't stop singing. Now, it's the difference, I say, us fans, and I include myself in that when I go to watch football, I wait to be entertained. American fans go to the ground to entertain the players. They want the players thinking, God, these are fucking quality. This is unbelievable. We were losing 2-0 at home at Dallas one game, which I thought we were going to get absolute pelters, which you would do in England, stuff thrown at you and people talking crap to you. They clapped us off the pitch, kept singing all the way through that we can hear them, and sung all the way second half. And what happened? We won 4-2. Now, when footballers talk about the fans give you another lift, that's what they talk about. But you get that every single week in America. Sadly, you don't get that here, because there's too many people just sitting there waiting. And they go to the game to slaughter the team. Why do you buy a season ticket to go and slaughter the team or slaughter what you're watching? What's the point? Keep the money in your back pocket. Do something different with it. So go there and enjoy it. And then enjoy it. I understand that they may not win and may not. You've got to be realistic. But enjoy your day out. You might be going with your boy. Enjoy it. So that was what was really refreshing out there. And like I said, I'll reiterate it. That's what I went there for. Yeah.
So obviously during your time at Portland, you had the opportunity to actually go back to England via loan spells at Wigan and Brighton, respectively. What was the thinking behind coming back on a temporary basis to those two clubs?
Yeah, obviously I was used to playing through Christmas. Do you know what? I didn't really know what else to do with myself, except for sit there and go and have a drink, and can't really play golf during the winter that much. It's tough. It's just, you're sitting there thinking, what do I do now? I'm not really that fitness person, never done running during the 6 weeks. I'm quite lucky and never did that. So I was sort of sitting there thinking, Obviously I knew Chris from Birmingham. Obviously they needed a left back, and he rang me up and spoke to me, and, so glad I did it, because Brighton was incredible. The club, the players, the surroundings, set up for the Premier League, but loved every minute of it. I was playing and I could have stayed there. That was a mad thing. It was such an enjoyable time, and thankful for that. Like Wigan as well, they were just in a bit of a dark place. So them two loan spells, and the other side of it, the money side of it for the club, they loan me out. The club don't have to pay them wages for a certain amount of time, and that helps both parties. And I get to stay in England, until end of February, which I could spend with my two older kids at that time, and enjoy that. So there was a number of reasons, and really it was just sort of just kept playing. I just wanted to keep playing, to be honest.
Yeah, so in early part of 2019, it was announced you would be leaving Portland Timbers, where you then went back to England and ultimately joined Hull City for a spell. What were the reasons for heading back to England after such a successful spell in America?
Yeah, obviously they changed the manager in that last year. They brought Gio in, and we had disagreements. We had disagreements on how we should play. I've been used to sort of not running a team, but sort of dictating how we played and how we won. Myself and Valeri and things like that. And it was tough to take of someone else coming in. Yeah, I would know he was a manager, but we were winning. We was a winning side, and we were doing everything right and doing it all. So he changed it. Within that, he wanted to change me, which didn't sit well. We had arguments over that, and for whatever reason he wanted to, he saw something different. I said, no problem. So I'm not gonna, brandish it about. That's fine. I get it. I'm gonna want to be a manager myself one day, and I understand that you have different things you want to do. So I said, no problem. I won't be a burden. I won't be a dickhead. I won't be this person. I'll just train. Leave me to train and keep fit and stuff like that. And the team didn't do too well. and obviously I came back into the team and was able to show why I was there and what I was doing there, and obviously made another MLS Cup, which was great.
Yeah, so after short spells at Hull and Southend, recently you are currently without a club now. So have you officially announced your retirement, or is there one more journey left in the boy from Bexleyheath yet?
Nah, that was it. I announced my retirement, what was it, probably about 3 months ago now. Obviously loved Hull. There were some fantastic boys that I'd played against over the years, like Chris Martin. Knew him for a long time, had some ding-dongs with him and things like that, but met up with these boys and they were brilliant. It was such a nice set of... It was like being at Birmingham, West Brom, Portland. They was all striving to make sure they'd stay in the Championship and strive in one direction. It was a tough, period, because obviously it was so far away from where I was. We'd moved back. We were living in East London, so it was a long commute, stay over. A young family, so it was tough, but loved every minute of it. Came back from there and wanted to be closer to home, and then the Southend thing come up. Went there, and just didn't work out. Not allowed to say too much about them, but just didn't work out, and I felt after that period things had run its course, and I was sort of ready to retire.
So was there a point, do you remember, that you probably thought, I'm done now, this is the end of my career? I mean, obviously it's Southend, but was there a point that you just thought, woke up one day and thought, that's me done?
Yeah. Right, just at the end of the Southend thing, really. A lot of things went on, and just wasn't me. Sort of, it just didn't sit well, and that was it. I thought, do you know what? I didn't think everywhere was like that, or things would go on like that. But I thought, do you know what, Ridge, it's time. I was ready to call it a day. If something had come up that maybe had sort of, I could lick my licks at, maybe, but it was, I just felt, you know what, Ridge, it's time, call it a day, enjoy it, and go that way and go for your next path.
Liam, as you mentioned, present day, what I know you're a co-owner of Thomas Royale.
Yeah.
Quite a well-known brand. Co-owned by big JT, John Terry, and Sam Saunders. How's that going for you?
Yeah, it's going well.
You get colour and pencils out and do all the design?
Try and stay away from that. I try and look at people and think, oh, they're nice shorts. You know what? We could do that. Things like that. So, yeah, do you know what? Tough. When myself and Sam started it, Sam Saunders started it way back when. It was just something for us to do when we retired. Hasn't really materialised into that. The wife does a lot of it now. The missus does it really, and just something that we really enjoyed fashion-wise and things like that. So touch in and out of it and try and help where we can. But like I say, the wife does the majority of it now, and something she really enjoys. Yeah, like I say, for me, really, it's onto the coaching side and the management side. And I'm on my B at the minute, which is obviously tough, a lot of Zoom calls, but something I'm working towards to be a manager.
Yeah, so moving on to your managing and coaching, are you aiming to go do a Lampard straight in at the top, or are you going to work your way up? Have you got a plan? Have you got a plan yet?
Hey, listen, if they come calling and ask me to be a manager, I'd absolutely fucking jump at the chance. But like I said, I'd like to learn. I'd like to, make mistakes where it didn't, massively be highlighted. I think that's what makes his job even more unbelievable. What he's done, the level that he's doing at. It's not just doing it where it's not highlighted. He's doing it where everybody's looking at him, talking about him. So I think that is actually incredible. But for me, it'd be a path of, being a number two, being sort of with the 18s, 23s, taking them and learning and, sort of being YTS again. I want to learn, do it the right way, and not sort of fail at the first hurdle and think, oh, do you know what? I'm not enjoying this. I'm enjoying learning and sort of picking people's brains and going back through it like YTS. And I'm really enjoyed it a minute. So looking forward to where it takes me next.
Yeah, so it's kind of watch your space then for you, and see where you turn out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a few places and people that I want to go and see. Likes of Roy Hodgson and John up at Villa, and go out to America to see what people are doing out there and sort of learn that way really. So, look, if a job was offered and it was the right one and things like that, absolutely. I don't think I could turn it down. I'm that type of fella. I'd be like, yeah, of course, absolutely, I'll do that. I'll jump at the chance. I'll make it work no matter what. But I think the right path is to learn and go the right way.
So yeah, Liam, we've come to the end of tonight's show. You may have alluded to it at the start, but we ask this question to every player that we have on. Do you know or have you played with Dele Adebola previously?
You know what? I'm not sure. I'd wonder if I played against him maybe, but I don't know him personally. I don't know where he's at. And I don't know anyone that may know him except for Craig Gardner because he's so Brummy and Birmingham, if that's where Dele Adebola might be. But no, I don't think I have. I've never really come across him massively.
Oh, hashtag find Adebola goes on one more week.
How can I ask, how the heck is this even start? Well, how does this even come from, or where did it come from?
I think we were having a conversation on episode 1, and it just literally came out. We were like, if we can get Dele Adebola on by episode 10, then we've made it. We've got our first badge.
I'm going to ask Craig Gardner. I'm going to ask him if he knows where he is, or ask him the question. He will laugh anyway, but it will be an interesting answer.
That'll be a huge help, mate. Honestly, that's been brilliant, mate. It's been absolutely brilliant having you on tonight, and thanks for all the stories. Much appreciated. Just take care in the future, all right?
I appreciate you having me on, fellas, and good luck with the show in future. And take it easy. Take care.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, Liam.
Thank you. Cheers.